So I welcome you all into the industrial pharmacy too. Hello. So Indian regulatory system, right? Now, in case of Indian regulatory system, as already we know that these are the points which are there into the syllabus, which is designed by the Pharmacy Council of India. And we had already covered the regulatory requirements for the approval of the new drug, for the approval of the investigational new drugs, and the process by which we can go for applying to that of the clinical trials in order to get approval, in order to get grant of approval to perform the clinical trial for the new drugs and the investigational new drugs. Now, today we will see that what are the different regulatory requirements as per the NDCT Act, as per the NDCT Rule 2019, in order to manufacture of new drug, investigational new drug for performing the clinical trial, bioavailability, bioequivalence studies, or the different processes like say the testings. We need to we need to study the different rules like say the manufacture of the unapproved API for the development of the new drug, investigational new drug for performing the clinical trial, bioavailability, and the bioequivalence studies. Also, we will go for studying the details associated with the regulatory requirement in order to import the new drug, investigational new drug for the process of clinical trial, and what are the main conditions of permission that is granted by the CDSCO. So we know that it is the central licensing agency which is said as the CDSCO, that is the Central Drug Standard Control Organization, situated at New Delhi, and which is performing its operations like say the giving grants or giving approvals in order to perform the clinical trial through its different zonal and the sub-zonal offices situated at various locations. Then before directly going and before this also in our lectures we came across with the new drug, we came across with the new chemical entity, we came across with the new biological entity, we came across the investigational new drug. What is the meaning of all these? That is, say the new drug. New drug means what? Investigational new drug means what? New chemical entity means what? New biological entity means what? Investigational new drug, it is particularly means that any kind of drug which is not given approval anywhere in the globe, in the world, which is not approved by any licensing authority, that is said to be the investigational new drug. New drug means what? New drug means it is such a kind of drug, say that which might be approved somewhere in the corner of the world, somewhere in the corner of the globe, but the drug is not used, the drug is not approved for its study, or its study cannot be carried out, or its study is not carried out in the Indian population. So such a drug that is said to be the new drug. New chemical entity is what? New chemical entity or investigational new drug, that might be new chemical entity, that might be new biological molecule, isn't it? Of course, because if it is the new chemical entity, if it is the new biological molecule, then definitely it had not been given any kind of approval, or it cannot be tested, or its efficacy that cannot be claimed. New chemical entity, that might be any existing substance, existing molecule also, right? What I said, that investigational new drug is what? Investigational new drug, it is new drug, right? Which is never been tested, which is never been approved by any licensing authority anywhere in the globe, anywhere in the world. New drug is what? New drug, it is such a drug which might be in existence, which might be approved, which might be in use, not in India, but in other countries. Are you getting my point? Right. But it is such a drug that which has not been used in Indian population. That's why it is the new drug. Got the clear difference between the IND, that is the investigational new drug. Investigational new drug, it is nothing but a drug which is under investigation in order to justify, in order to prove, in order to uh, uh, in order to get results of its therapeutic or its beneficial effects, right? So that is the clear cut difference. And when it is the investigational new drug, definitely, so it might be a new chemical entity, isn't it? Because all drugs are what? All drugs are the chemicals. But every time a chemical may not be a drug, or it does not mean that only chemical substance might be a drug. There might be a biological system which could be used as a drug also, like say insulin, like say the human growth hormones, right? So an investigational new drug might be a new chemical entity, might be a new biological molecule. When we are talking about the new chemical entity, it means what? New chemical entity that might be an already existing chemical substance also. It does not mean that it might be a totally new. It might be already existing, but its therapeutic efficacy is not claimed, or therapeutic efficacy that cannot be approved, that cannot be proved. So that is what is the new chemical entity. Same is the case related with that of the biological substance, isn't it? From where we may going to bring a new biological substance? We cannot go on bringing. It is in existence, but it may not be known, or its therapeutic efficacy might not be proved, or sometime there might be a biological substance but which has not been discovered yet, which is going to be discovered newly, right? So that is what is the clear cut difference between the new drug, investigational new drug, then new chemical entity, and the new biological entity, right? Okay, fine. Now, when we want to go for performing clinical trials or the bioavailability or the bioequivalence studies, now the details has been given in the NDCT rules, New Drugs and Chemicals, New Drugs and Clinical Trial Rules 2019. For the manufacture of new drug or IND for clinical trial and the bioavailability bioequivalence studies. So it is given in chapter 8. As per chapter 8, there is a rule 52. Now here and in the subsequent slides, you will going to find the different rules and what these rules states. So we have to understand what is that rule and what is the meaning of that particular rule, or what are the details has been given in that particular rule. So rule 52, right? So rule 52 under chapter 8, what it says, it will describe the application, or it says that the application for permission to manufacture of new drug or investigational new drug IND for clinical trial CT. CT means clinical trial, or bioavailability, that is BA, bioequivalence BE, that is BABE study, or BABE study, or it is the bioavailability and the bioequivalence study, or for examination, test, and analysis. Right? So all these studies has to be carried out. Okay. So what is mentioned in the Rule 52? The first point which is mentioned in the Rule 52 is that no person shall manufacture a new drug or an investigational new drug to conduct clinical trial or bioavailability or bioequivalence study or for examination, test, and analysis without obtaining permission to manufacture such new drug or investigational new drug from the Central Licensing Agency. It means that if one has to conduct the clinical trials or if one has to carry out the process of manufacturing of new drugs or the investigational new drug, a person need to take permission from the Central Licensing Agency, that is the CDSCO, as you knows, right? Because how to apply, where to apply, that already we saw in the previous lecture, the flow chart, isn't it? The pathway which is to be followed in order to get the approval for the clinical trials, right? Second point in the Rule 52 will says that any person who intends to manufacture a new drug or an investigational new drug to conduct clinical trial or BAB or examination, test, and analysis shall make an application in Form CT10 to the Central Licensing Agency to obtain the permission referred to in Sub Rule 1. So the person, if he or she wants to carry out the clinical trial or bioavailability or the bioequivalence studies for the new drugs or the investigational new drugs, he or she need to apply to the Central Licensing Agency CDSCO. Which form need to be used? It is the form number CT10. So form number CT10 that is to be used in order to get approval in order to conduct the clinical trial or the BABE studies or for examination or test or analysis. The application referred in sub-rule 2 shall be accompanied with such documents and information as specified in the fourth schedule along with the fees prescribed specified in the sixth schedule. So the fourth schedule of the NDCT Act, it refers to what? The fourth schedule of the NDCT Act, it refers to that of the different documents and the information that need to be furnished when we have to apply to the clinical trial. And the sixth schedule of the NDCT Act, it contains the different details of the fees that is to be paid by the applicant in order to get approval for conduction of the clinical trials. Then there is a Rule 53. So what is this Rule 53? 53 that refers to that of the grant of permission. Rule 53 refers to what? Rule 53 that refers to that of the grant of permission to manufacture new drug. It is associated with getting the permission. Rule 53 that is the grant of permission to manufacture new drug or investigational new drug for clinical trial or BABA study or for examination, test, and the analysis. So Rule 53 that is nothing but the permission given by the Central Licensing Agency, that is the CDSCO. The CLA may, after scrutiny of the information and the documents furnished with the application in Form CT10 and such further inquiry, if any, as may be considered necessary, if satisfied that the requirements of these rules have been complied with, grant permission to manufacture the new drug or investigational new drug for conduct of the clinical trial or bioavailability or bioequivalence studies or for examination, test, and analysis, as the case may be, the new drug or the investigational new drug in Form CT11 within a period of 90 working days from the date of receipt of its application in Form CT10 or if not satisfied that the requirements of these rules have been complied with, reject the application for reasons to be recorded in writing within a period of 90 working days from the date of application which was made under sub rule 2 of rule 52, right? So this point will describe that the central licensing agency that will gives grant, that will gives permission, and what is the time duration in order to give permission by the CLA? It is the 90 working days. So in which form they will give permission? They will give permission in order to conduct the clinical trial in the form CT11. They need to give permission, that is the grant of permission. The application is in form CT10 and the grant of permission that is in the form CT11. So how many days the CDSCO will take? CDSCO will take the 90 working days, right? Applicant will make an application in form CT10, and if the application is not found to be up to the mark or the requirements of the CDO might not be fulfilled, then in that case, the CDSCO will have the rights to reject the application. Now they will reject the application and they will furnish the details. They will mention the details. They will record the details in writing that why particularly the application to perform the clinical trial is rejected, right? And this process need to be carried out within 90 days only. In case where CLA considers that there are some deficiencies in the application and the same may be rectified, the said authority shall inform the applicant of the deficiencies within a period specified in sub-rule 1. Yes, the same meaning is if any deficiency is there that need to be communicated to the applicant. The applicant may, after being informed by the central licensing agency as specified in sub-rule 2, will rectify the deficiencies within a period of specified by the CLA. The CLA may give period that you have to rectify this issue within a month, within 2 months, or within few days. So within that days, that is what is the meaning specified period, right? Within that period, the applicant need to rectify the deficiency. Where the applicant rectify the deficiency within the period referred to in clause 1 and provide required information and documents, the CLA shall scrutinize the application again and if satisfied grant permission to manufacture for conduct of CT and BABA study or for examination, test or analysis as the case may be for the new drug or investigational new drug, or if not satisfied, reject the application within a period of 90 working days. If it is rectified, the applicant will resubmit. After resubmission, they will scrutinize and accordingly, upon their satisfaction, they will give permission or they may reject the application within a period of 90 working days. Provided that in case of rejection, the applicant may request the CLA to reconsider the application within a period of 60 working days. So that means these 90 working days and these are the 60 working days. So the maximum period of giving approval first upon first submission by the applicant, that is the 90 working days, that means 3 months. And applicant may request the CLA to consider the application within the 60 working days from the date of rejection of the application, right? So let's say, for example, within 30 days only, the application that is scrutinized and responded by the CDSCO. So CDSCO had taken the 30 days only, and from that day onward, the 60 working days. If CDSCO had responded to 19th day, right? So that means CDSCO had taken the 90 days, 3 months, and from that day onward, the 60 working days from the date of rejection of the application on payment of fees specified in the sixth schedule and submission of required information and the documents. An applicant who aggrieved by the decision of the CLA under Subrule 1 and Subrule 3 may file an appeal before the central government within 45 days from the date of receipt of such decision, and that government may, after such inquiry and after giving an opportunity of being heard to the appellant, dispose of the appeal within a period of 60 days from the date of filing a appeal, right? Let us say, for example, if the applicant is not satisfied onto the decision of the CLA, right? So the provision is there that the within 45 days from the date of receipt of such decisions, the government that will do inquiry. The applicant had right to appeal to the central licensing agency, and from that day onward, within 45 days or 45 days, that is the period which is taken by the government, right? And within 60 days, within 45 days, they will go for inquiry, right? Or the government should go for inquiry within the maximum period for government is the 45 days. And if it has to inquire within 45 days, right? And they have to go for disposing the appeal within a period of 60 days from the date of filing the appeal, right? Let's say, for example, that means this 45 minus 60 or 60 minus 45, that means 15 days, that is the additional period which the government may have with them in order to give decision from their side on the appeal of the applicant. Are you getting my point? Let's say, for example, onto the uh, 60 days, that means 2 months. Let us say in case of the 1st January, if it is going to be applied. So the January, that is 30 day, February, that is say some 15 days. So that means up to 15th February, after up to 15th February, the government will have right to carry out the inquiry onto the appeal made by the applicant, right? And from 15th February to the uh, 30th or the 29th of February, that means in order to complete the 60 days. So within that period, the decision that should be taken on to the appeal of the applicant. So that is the meaning. Okay. The rule 54 will says that it is the validity period of permission to manufacture of new drug or the investigational new drug for the clinical trial or BABA study or for the examination test and the analysis. 54, that will say the validity period of permission. So what is the validity period? The permission granted under Rule 53 in Form CT11 shall remain valid for a period of 3 years from the date of its issue, unless suspended and cancelled by the Central Licensing Authority. So once the permission is given, that will remain valid for the 3 years from the date of its issue. Applicant had made application that we have to carry out such and such clinical trial. Let's say, for example, on the 1st February 2020, sorry, 1st January 2021, the approval has been given. So it will remain valid for the 3 year. That means 21, 22, and 23. It will remain valid up to 31st December 23. Are you getting my point? So that is the 3 days, 3 years. Sorry, it is the 3 years. In exceptional circumstances, the CLA may extend the period of permission for a further period of 1 year. So if say, let us say the period like say the COVID, isn't it? So this is the emergency in which the government may consider that this may need to be given extension to the applicant. So they may give application, those who had already filed because of this COVID-19 period, they may go for giving the extension of the additional 1 year. So those who had the, say, those who had applied before 6 months, before 3 months, or anything whose period that may come into this COVID-19 period. So the government may consider to extend on exceptional circumstances. And it is the sole authority of the Central Licensing Authority, right? Okay. Rule 55 that will describe the condition of permission, right? So what are the different conditions in which the permission that may be granted? So condition of permission, that is the grant of permission under rule 52, 55 in form CT 11 is subject to the different conditions, and these conditions are as follow. So what are the condition? The very first condition, that is the permission holder shall make use of new drug manufactured under form CT11 only for the purposes of conducting clinical trial or BABA study or for examination, test and analysis, and no part of it shall be sold in the market or supplied to any other person or agency or institution and organization. So the application and the permission that is solely in order to conduct what? In order to conduct the clinical trial, in order to conduct the BABA study, in order to conduct the examination, in order to carry out the test, in order to carry out the analysis only, and not selling, supplying to any person, any agency, any institution and organization. So this is the condition of the permission. The approval or the permission that has been given solely in order to carry out the process of clinical trial to all these. The permission holder shall manufacture new drug for the purposes of clinical trial or by BABA study or for examination, test and analysis in small quantities, right? The quantities has been mentioned. It is in small quantity in accordance with the provisions of these rules and at places specified in the permission and in accordance with the principles of the GMP. What is GMP? Good manufacturing practices, right? So the new drug or the investigational new drug that can be manufactured for what? In order to perform the clinical trial, BABA study, test, analysis, and the examination, and for which the person or the applicant or the permission holder can go for manufacturing the new drug in the small quantities, right? And it is in accordance with the rules that has been specified, and it is at a particular place where the permission has been given and not at the other places, but at that place they need to follow the good manufacturing practices. The permission holder shall keep a record of new drug manufactured and persons to whom the drugs have been supplied for clinical trial or bioavailability, bioequivalence study, or for examination, test, and the analysis. Yes, the permission holder need to keep the record of all these drugs. How much drug has been manufactured, to whom it has been supplied, in what quantity it has been supplied, on which date it has been supplied, on which date it has, on which time it has been. Everything need to be recorded, and that has to be kept along with them. Where new drug manufactured for purposes of the clinical trial or BABA study or for examination, test and analysis is left over or remains unused or gets damaged or its specified shelf life has expired or has been found to be of substandard quality, the same shall be destroyed and the action taken in respect thereof shall be recorded. Right? So all these are the necessities, right? So with this today we will going to stop here, and I request you all to please give your attendance. Thank you very much. Have a good day to you all.